Good morning, I should say afternoon to everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Michael Kaplan. I serve as President and CEO of the Melanoma Research Alliance. And I can't tell you how thrilling it is after 2 years and 2 months since the last time we did this to be back in person. Of course, COVID, yeah, exciting. Of course, COVID has changed quite a few things, including how people participate. So while we are thrilled to have all of you in the room today, we are equally thrilled to have 500 patients and advocates participating through live streaming around the globe today for this program. I'm only going to take a few minutes to share a few messages and get us started. I think all are aware of our mission to end suffering and death due to melanoma. And what I need to be clear is we don't do it alone. We do it with all of you, whether it's the other nonprofits in this room, from grassroots to other national melanoma groups, the industry partners and biotechs in this room, and most importantly, the patients in terms of getting involved in trials, giving feedback to their clinicians. And so while we are thrilled with the progress made, and we often say MRA will say how excited we are about it, we're clear, it is not us. It is all of you, and I would like to thank all of you for the progress that has been made. Today I'm going to share just a couple slides. This is just an overview of our investment since we've started. We are thrilled over the last 13 years to have invested $131 million into melanoma research. We've leveraged through parallel funding, follow-on funding, and co-funding another $415 million. We've issued a total of 380 research awards with 500 funded investigators, 145 institutions across 19 countries. And while those numbers are impressive, I think what's most impressive is the progress made. While all of us had our heads turned to COVID, I am always struck by one of the stats the American Cancer Society has shared for the last few years. And that stat is, for the last 3 years of all cancers in the US, no cancer has had a greatest decrease in mortality than melanoma, and attributed to the advancements in treatment and all of you in this room, and I think that deserves a round of applause. So I'm going to take a second to walk us through the agenda, and what I want to share is that I'm excited by this agenda, and we have invited our presenting sponsors to introduce the various sessions. The first and only section that is happening via recording is David Polsky. Unfortunately, he was unable to be here, but I'm looking at Cody to make sure I say this right. I understand he will be doing Q&A live to this audience and those online. So we still get to question, but the presentation had to be pre-recorded. It's a pretty encompassing presentation on biomarkers, though I will say up front, not as encompassing as I had dreamed. David has really focused on early melanoma and metastatic, but when I think about biomarkers, I think about even earlier than that. And in fact, one of the introductions from a presenting sponsor for this session is being done by Dr. Burkhardt. And why I wanted him to do that is their work in biomarkers, but from a very different way than how David Polsky will talk. So you're going to hear a session that talks about markers to lead treatment and treatment decisions, but let us be clear, there are markers we're finding much earlier that are helping with things like detection, and that was one of the reasons I wanted DermTech to do this introduction. 2 months ago was at my a dermatologist, and where they usually cut 1 or 2 moles, for the first time he said, let's not. Let's put a stick to it and first see how high of a likelihood that's melanoma and determine from then. And I was surprised, and the numbers vary, to hear that for 25 biopsies done, and you'll hear varying counts on this, only 1 ends up being true melanoma. And so the idea of an uninvasive approach to see if there's something that can give you a better determination. So while that will not be in the biomarkers, I am thrilled to have Burkhardt from DermTech introduce that session, but we'll get there in a second. That session is being followed by One Step at a Time, a melanoma journey. And For me, this is, I hope, is the most kind of educational from a patient perspective. I'm thrilled that we're putting a dermatologist, a surgeon, and an oncologist on the stage to talk about the patient journey between them, the info they need that follows from one to the other, and how that looks. Because too often, I think all of us have had patient experiences where we see one doctor and don't understand the next step before or the one that happens after. So I think that'll be a great panel. Following that, we have the step-by-step living with melanoma, which is a different take. I'm excited to have 3 patients sharing their own experience to help kind of hear how patients are dealing with their melanoma journey. For emerging treatments, excited to have Dr. Taubey from MD Anderson here. Despite the COVID slowdown, there is, I feel, a lot of excitement, particularly in the last year and the year coming in terms of new treatments coming online. So I think that's going to be a dynamic talk. And then staying on the path of prevention, and I want to thank Susan Sweater and Maria Ray and Rachel Vogel, who will be doing that panel, moderated by Tracy Callahan from Polka Dot Mama. And then, of course, we invite you all at the close of that to join us upstairs at the main lobby at 6 p.m. for the sponsors reception, where all of you will join about 200 other who are here for the scientific retreat and lecture starting tomorrow morning. And I just accidentally turned that off. So just a quick who's in the room. This is, and I can't see either, so maybe someone could tell me. As you can see, these are registrations across in the room and online. And as I said earlier, I said 400 for virtual streaming. I was corrected, it's 500. About a quarter of those are patients. The next largest group being advocates, and then followed by other survivors and caregivers. And what you don't know, it didn't come through, is we have a lot of sponsors here too, people who work in industry, and I am thrilled that they come not only to support the meeting, but to be here, but allow it to be a patient space and to hear the questions and the patient feedback. And so without further ado on that, let me thank our sponsors. Our presenting sponsors today for the patient forum are Bristol Myers Squibb, DermTech, Johnson & Johnson, Merck, and Novartis. And I'm going to go to the next level, and when we finish, we'll give them all a round of applause. Our gold and silver levels are Alkermes, Instill Bio, Iovance, Molly's Fund, Natera, Spot My UV, and L'Oreal Dermatologic Beauty. And I would just ask if you could give them a round of appreciation. So without further ado, I think the best person to lead us into this is Cody Barnett. I had the pleasure and honor of working with Cody before I ever joined MRA, and he really upped our game at MRA when he joined us 4 years ago on patient engagement. He curates the patient forum, does an amazing amount of work and a lot of patient stories, and I ask you all to please welcome Cody to the stage.
Thank you, Michael. So my name is Cody Barnett. I am the Director of Communications and Patient Engagement here at MRA. And if you know me, you know how excited I am for today to finally happen in person. Last year when we did this event virtually, I joked that if we could capture just 5% of the magic that we're able to create in person virtually, we'll have succeeded. And already today, I am reminded of just how powerful this community is when it's brought together, and how much we have to learn from one another. So I'm just thrilled to be here. If I don't know you yet, please stop, say hello. Yeah, let's keep us moving. I also just want to highlight that our website has a host of resources for folks from across the melanoma journey. We have a dedicated hub for folks who have been recently diagnosed. We have updated information on the latest and greatest when it comes to treatment options, as well as a whole slew of patient stories and narratives that can help you see how other people have approached various things in the melanoma journey, and looking for areas where You can learn from some of their experiences, as well as resources that help you navigate all of the incredible advancements that have been made in the melanoma research space, which thankfully is a very rapidly evolving area. I also want to highlight that we do have an online community that's also called the Melanoma Exchange. It's over 5,000 people strong. Lots of great post activity, lots of areas to ask questions and interact with folks and keep the conversations going virtually once you return home. I'm also here to tease a new program by MRA that we'll be launching here later this year called the RARE Registry. And the registry is an online hub for folks who've been diagnosed with acral or mucosal melanoma. And what it does is it gives an opportunity for patients to partner with researchers to really move the needle forward as it relates to these rare melanoma subtypes. You can be among the first to know when it launches by going to raremelanoma.org and signing up there. I also want to take a second to highlight the newest way to stay connected with MRA and the melanoma community. Step Up for Melanoma, it challenges participants to walk 10,000 steps a day, every day, throughout the month of May, while fundraising and connecting with the melanoma community. Throughout the challenge, you'll hear from and connect with other people who are going through similar things or have shared experiences, and it really is a vibrant community that will keep you encouraged, to give you tips, and hopefully really working towards funding research altogether. We piloted this program last year with 700 attendees, and that raised $70,000 for melanoma research, which is a huge sum. So we're hoping this year with 1,000 people we can do even better. We've also worked with our technical partners to allow us to have teams for the first time, as well as having online step counters and leaderboards to really make it a more immersive, interactive experience. And as always, 100% of all donors raised will go directly to our research program without any administrative or fundraising fees. I also want to highlight how to ask a question. So this is a huge part of this event, is just the dialogue that happens between the participants and our presenters. So if you have a question, please just raise your hand if you're in the room. If you're online, on the right-hand side of your screen, there is a Q&A and a chat function. If you use either one of those, we'll be monitoring and we'll answer those questions. Finally, Michael already mentioned this is a patient and family-focused event, so we really want to focus on that and give space for patients and families. I also just want to highly encourage you, if you don't know the people sitting around you in the room at your table, make a point to say hello. Like, very seldomly do we get the opportunity to come together in this way, particularly over the last 2 years of COVID-19. So please make the most of being here together, meet a new friend, and stay connected, because there really is a lot of power in this community. It's now my pleasure to bring Burkhard, one of our presenting sponsors from Durham Tech, to introduce our first lecture.